Okay, hi everyone. This is gonna be. I want to do it like a 45-minute stream today. I don't want it too long, but today I just want to talk about the news that's come out. Hey Eric, yeah, I just want to talk about the news that's come out today with regards to Haaland, Lukaku, and there's talk also about Werner. Werner going to move on the part exchange. So I just want to see what your guys' thoughts and opinions are on that. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Eric. I'm good, thanks. I'm going to put the link in here, so if anyone wants to join the conversation, let me just sort it out now. Hi, Ian, how you doing, mate? How you good? Right, so that's the chat there. So I'm just going to turn the light on, get a bit more light. So, well, obviously, today we had some news, or I was watching a few channels, and first of all, there was talk about Haaland. Sorry, just sort the light out. That's better. Yeah. So there's talk about Haaland, and his price has been set at 150 million euros, so roughly about 130 million pounds, I think. And only a few clubs will be able to afford him for that sort of price, and Chelsea being one of them. Chelsea, Manchester City, and also the fact is that if we don't get him, because obviously he's the most sought after centre forward in the land at the moment, if we don't get him, then the alternative is going to be Lukaku, apparently. And there's also talk in some newspapers that Chelsea are prepared to even offer Timo Werner as a swap deal and money to Dortmund in order to get him for that particular price. So I just want to know what you guys' thoughts are on that. Let me put the link in again. There's a link. So if you want to come on and have a chat with me on that one, that's fine. There's also, whilst I'm waiting for people to join the chat, there's also been some alternatives being talked about as well. Crazy money, is he worth it? He's worth it. I think he's worth it. Ian's asking if is he worth that. He will be worth that. You know, I think he's a real deal. Me personally, I don't think he'll be a flop. You know, I know that some Chelsea fans are going to be cautious, and the fact that we're going to be cautious is because in the past we've had big money signings, i.e. Morata, Shevchenko, going back a bit, even Torres, who haven't worked out. But I think this guy's young enough at 21. Most of the strikers that we bought earlier, I think issues with them. Like for instance, when we bought Torres, he had a knee problem. Not Lukaku. When we bought, it was the other guy we bought, Shevchenko. Again, we bought him injured. Morata, everyone told us about his mentality problems. And a good striker, but he had mentality problems. And even when he was at Juventus, the first spell at Juventus, not this spell, the goalkeeper warned us about his mentality. So, you know, this guy, what I see in Haaland, I see a guy with strong mentality. I also see a guy who's young enough, and similar to when we bought Hazard, actually, I think we can. He's a sellable asset as well. So if he wants to join another club later on, because I don't think if he does join Chelsea, he's not going to stay with us throughout the whole of his career. Then if we sell him at his primes, 27, 28, then we're still going to get our money back for him. You know, just like the Hazard deal with Real Madrid. So I do think it's financially it'll be worth it. Okay, Cruz, nice to have you on.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Have you been on before? You haven't been on before, have you?
Yeah, I've been on maybe your channel maybe once before. Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
When we were talking, was a review match, wasn't it? I think,
it was a review match here with DJ and a few of the other guys.
That's right. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on these stories circulating?
To start with, the Haaland in general is a massive signing. If we can get him, I think if we can balance the books to get him, it makes sense. We've not had one of these galactical, astronomical type signings. I know at the time when we did Torres, it counted as one of those, but I think sort of the £100+ million mark, we haven't really breached that yet. So I think if it was going to be any player, the guy's got, for me, obviously, growing up, he's got the Chelsea DNA of a striker that I'm used to. So the Costas, the Drogbas, the guys that I've seen do well, he's sort of got that streak in him. And I think he would be potentially the one player that I would risk it on to spend that kind of money. To put Werner back the other way. So going out, I think it makes sense for me. If Haaland comes in, he's the centre forward. That's it. There's no question, obviously, at that kind of money anyway. But what I think about Werner is on the left, if he was to play a sort of attacking midfield or on a wing, he's not necessarily the most talented footballing player with the ball at his feet. He's got the pacing behind, he's got the finishing ability, but I don't necessarily think he's got the if you look at a Pulisic or a Hudson-Odoi, I don't know if he's got the skill level to beat players consistently and get balls in the box. I know he's got a few assists, but I just think it would make sense for him to go back out a league he's familiar with. And if we could benefit with some money, then sort of like to make the deal a bit smaller. But I don't see them parting with the money. I see Dortmund saying they want the full money. So I don't see a player plus cash deal, if I'm being honest. I don't see a player plus cash deal happening. But if it was, and it was for Werner, then yeah, I'd be in for that.
Yeah, but don't you think like Werner would suit their style as well? Because obviously they'll have to go out and buy replacement. So Werner's done well in the Bundesliga in the past, and I think they'll flourish in that league because that league is totally different from the Premier League in that he gets a lot of space to run in behind, and the way that Dortmund play, then he'll suit their style of play, I think. So I think that would be an attractive proposition for them if that offer was on the table.
It's just because I don't know about you, but I haven't seen much player plus cash deals historically at that figure go through. So like when you look at like the big moves that like Pogba, Neymar, Dembele, Coutinho, those 100+, I think it's just too much of an attractive proposition for a club to just say we want that cash first. So I think they would want the money. I don't think they wouldn't want the player. I don't know if I made that. I'm not saying they don't think they want Werner. I think Werner would suit them, but I just think they would probably want that big 150 just to take that and be like, okay, then we can make our move from here. Have we got Gio Reyna who we think we can play next season, or do we have a Sancho still here? Then they could make that decision themselves instead of being like sort of forced into playing this player that's come the other way. So that's sort of my apprehension, but I would be down for it, and I think they would want the player definitely.
We've had deals before where somebody, I can't remember who it was, I'm not sure it's Chelsea, it might be Manchester United, where they bought a player. It wasn't a swap deal, but then they went back and bought a player from the same club. From the selling club. So I think something like that maybe it's done for financial reasons or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it may be something like that. We give them the 150, then they come back and get Werner if they can't find an alternative. But I think Werner, as I said, would suit them. So a lot of people are saying that they wouldn't have Werner, sell Werner. I like to give someone a second season, but if they were saying the only way we can get Haaland is to get Werner, then we'll be silly not to 100%. Accept a deal like that. Yeah, that's too big a deal to turn down. Yeah. So Eric, welcome, mate. What's your views on all this?
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, hi. Before I say, just big up to Stamford Bridge, Ensai, Farid, and everyone else on the stream. Yeah, nice to have you guys on. Yeah, sorry, off you go.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I'm not sure how swap deals work in general. I'm not sure the logistics with the money and the player, because I assume there's a price as well. So there's a swap deal and then the player and a certain amount, and then you do the swap. But I feel a little bit sorry for Werner because I don't think he should ever have been. I was always iffy about the signing. I never wanted him to come to Chelsea, not because I think he's a bad player, but I just didn't think he was the right fit. And now that he's come, all of a sudden, it's looking like he might get sold, and he's barely played at Chelsea. So it's just a sad situation. He didn't need to have been signed in the first place. But
Yeah,
with regards to Holland, I think Chelsea have to just go, all out. Um, you know, 100 mil, 150. Just do whatever it takes. I think it will be worth it to sign him. I think Abramovich really wants him, so that's positive. Um, yeah, I think we just need to try as much as we can to, entice the player here. Just whatever we can do to sign him, because we really need his ability. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting the comments that you made about Werner, because when we were linked with him in the Bundesliga, I was actually following him closely whilst he was at RB. And one thing I did notice was the amount of room that you get in the Bundesliga, and I was thinking, is he going to have those same sort of opportunities in the Premier League where defenders don't push up as high? And he was missing a high percentage of his chances as well in the Bundesliga. And I said in the Premier League you don't get as many chances, so it was a bit apprehensive when he joined. I was a bit apprehensive. I was obviously you're sort of excited at the time, but then you do have your reservations, and because his close control isn't that good, and he's not technically that good, then I think that's why he's struggling. But again, as I said, it could be the first season thing, just adjusting to the pace of the Premier League, and then maybe coming to life in the second season. Don't know. And if he can coexist with Haaland as well, because if you look when he was at RB Leipzig, he did have Paulsen. He played off Paulsen, so he wasn't an out and out number 9. He was more for second striker. So yeah, so that I think they can play together as well. And the interesting thing also about Haaland is that he wants to. He's not motivated by the money thing. He's got a pick of clubs, and as you saw when he could have gone to Manchester United last season, he chose Dortmund because that was the next step up in his career progression, and he likes to play in a team that offers him a lot, a young team as well. Chelsea's got a young team at the moment who can offer him a lot, so and create a lot of chances for him, because obviously we're a team who creates lots of chances, but we just haven't got that conversion rate. So hopefully he's looking at us and the style of play that we have, and maybe he's thinking that he can make a difference to us. And coming in with a point to prove, he looks like someone who's got a point to prove as well. So at Manchester City, he's already going to the club who's won the league. Maybe he could think, I can go to a club and try and challenge Manchester City for the league. So if Roman is very persuasive, as we know, if he puts in a good enough argument to get him, then I think that we can possibly pull this one off. But it's going to be hard because there's lots of clubs interested in it at the moment.
Yeah. I was watching the Football Terrace, and I was listening to what someone was saying on there, and it's not an obvious. The person made it look very obvious that obviously you'd go with Man City instead of Chelsea, but it's not that obvious. People move to different clubs for different reasons. It's not always about the footballing. What you necessarily think is best for your footballing career. It's not even always about who will pay you the most amount of money. People have different reasons for going to different clubs. Maybe the motivation, like you said, maybe it's about building something special at Chelsea. So both clubs can offer him something similar. So he'll just pick the one where he thinks he can achieve more, or maybe he can be remembered better, or he's trying to go in the footsteps of people like Drogba. There are many reasons why people would go to different clubs. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's not clear cut yet, because as he said, what I've noticed about him and his camp is that they are quite measured in the way they do their business, and I think that they will have a long, hard thought about the next career step in his career. So yes, it's not clear cut Man City, because they can pay the big wages. We'll pay as much as Man City, I think, in wages. If Roma really wants him, then he'll go all out with the wages to match them. So it could be a straight fight between us and City. So what do you think about that, Chris? Are you worried about City's involvement?
Yes, because of the attraction of them going to be lifting the title at the end of the season. You know, obviously, if you're not somebody who keeps up with football, because obviously we just assume that footballers all watch football, but we see many cases like some players don't necessarily keep up every week in, week out, what happens in other leagues. And at the end of the year, when you see teams lift the trophy, and especially apparently his dad used to play for them as well, and you just see they've won a trophy, and depending how well they do in the Champions League, it could be more attractive in the sense of that sort of stuff. But then, like both of you touched on, it's about, does he want to come to a club with younger players? Tuchel's building something with a younger team and maybe looking to the future. I think if we can go on a decent Champions League run and also show that we're competing with this young side as well, I think it, like you said, it depends how measured his team want his next move to be and where they see him play. I think, like you said, financially, it's not a case of that, because we've already started to, if you look at our signings over the last couple of years, we've already started to push that cap. I remember at one stage it was 200 plus with Hazard for a while, and then we brought in Kepa. And then we brought in players like Havertz recently, and we've extended, and we also before that we upped Kante's wage as well. So we're starting to breach that 300, 310 mark. So we're going into, you know, top wage territory when you're talking about like the full 300s, 400k. So I think that's what he would roughly be on, about that sort of money, depending on bonuses, probably a bit more. But I think we could definitely compete and get him into to be our lead our line. If he would want to come, I think it depends on what he sees as the attraction. It's just down to him, to be honest. Like you guys said, it's his pick. He has the pick at the moment, so it just depends what his camp decide is the best move for him.
Yeah, and plus you got there's talk about financial fair play changing. Some people said it's going to be abolished. I don't think it's going to be, but they're going to sort of revisit it and maybe revise it a bit, because of obviously COVID and they need to get more money into football. So maybe Abramovich knows that and he's willing to break the wage structure and pay him what he wants. So that's another factor.
Yeah. I was curious about that, because from what I remember from before, I thought the rules were already the laws were already relaxed. The financial fair play laws, I thought they were already relaxed before. So maybe they're being relaxed further, or I'm not sure what's the difference is.
Yeah, I know that they said that they were gonna relax it because of COVID for a couple of seasons. But now they're talking about scrapping it altogether and replacing it with something different.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure. It's not being proposed. I'm not sure what the proposal is, but I don't think they'll just scrap it completely. They'll just put something else in to give clubs a bit more flexibility, maybe.
I think it's also, sorry to cut you, but I think it's a bit coincidental that Barcelona and Real Madrid, I don't know how much people read into these kind of stuff, they started to struggle, and now all of a sudden financial fair play scrapped and everyone gets a chance. But when it's us, it just kind of feels like we always get the short end of the stick, because we just come off a ban, we just getting our books together, we are sort of running a good sustainable model, and then all these other teams are going through the mud. They can't buy big players because obviously it's a billion pound industry, so they need the big signings and the big traffic, and big clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona and PSG and all these clubs not being able to do things, it doesn't add to the attract of the game. So that's one thing I've noticed, that when it seems to be like things are getting a bit tough, there always seems to be like a I don't know, get out of jail free card. Obviously, because of what's been happening in the world, the pandemic and stuff, we understand that maybe clubs can't spend, but I don't see how relaxing financial fair play, depending on what the new rule is, by the way, but depending on if it's scrapped to a certain degree, and then those clubs are allowed to just go out and do a madness again, which would be so weird because we've just come off the back of saying it's not fair. So yeah, it's strange, but I always think to save the game, they've got to make these investments and make these big clubs, you know, the big signings, it brings traffic and the TV sponsors. And we've seen over the last year or two that other leagues have struggled financially. So I think this financial fair play isn't a coincidence being scrapped. England, it doesn't really affect us here because we've got the money in the TV, but I think massively in other leagues, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it a bit too much, but I just think it's a bit odd that all the other leagues are struggling. France, potentially no club wants to buy the game. Spain, Barcelona ain't got no money. Then all of a sudden, FFP scrapped.
You know what? You're not reading into it too much, because the reason they introduced it in the first place was when Abramovich came in and started, quote unquote, ruining football.
Yeah.
And they just didn't want this to disrupt the status quo. You know, the big boys, you know, they had their nose at the joint, and then all of a sudden we came in, then Manchester City came in, and I think it was more to keep Chelsea spending in tow when Michel Platini was there. And yeah, you're right in that, so the fact that now that you've got the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid struggling now, they need a competitive Barcelona, they need a competitive Real Madrid to make the Champions League attractive to everyone. So so they're doing something to make it easier for them to compete.
Yeah, I don't really have a major issue with them scrapping it for now, because the other leagues were never going to be able to cope with the financial climate because of the pandemic. So it makes sense that that's happening to help with the other leagues. So the Premier League is very different. So it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, we've got us, we've got Man City, maybe Real Madrid. I can't see Barcelona, because Barcelona are what, £2 billion in debt or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah, they are really struggling. So I can't see how they can get a financial package together. Real Madrid may be a threat, but I don't know yet. But the other thing I was going to mention actually was the fact that Haaland would have seen what happened with us and Eden Hazard as well. Whereas he knows that Chelsea are a club who don't stand in a player's way if they want to take another move. Whereas I'm not sure what City would do if they make it difficult for him to move on. If he's got, because with some players they want to try different leagues. That he may want to play a few years in the Premier League, then he may want to try La Liga, because he's played in the Bundesliga before, and we let Hazard fulfill his dreams eventually. So he had a few good seasons with us. Then we let him go with our blessing. So maybe he's thinking, not as a stepping stone, but Chelsea as the next step in his career. And then at some point, I want to go to Real Madrid or I want to go to Barcelona. Then I will go without any problems, because we're not like a Tottenham, are we, who make it difficult for players to leave or put big price tags on them, and then in the end they have to put in transfer requests or whatever. So I think we've got that in our favour as well, the way we treat our players.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. Like the players want to play for those sort of clubs. So as much as we love our club, we're a big team. But at the end of the day, we kind of have to understand that in recent history, like as not recent history, but maybe, we say recent history, we've become a very big side. And then Real Madrid and these sides historically have always been sort of big sides, whether that's because of kings giving them money or however they came into it, because no club was just born into it. I think there was a lot of history behind why some clubs have money historically. So we're not one of those big, like when they say the big 3 or 4 clubs, they talk about like the Real Madrid, United. I think that's like the 3, and then they say, I think it's maybe Bayern or somebody like that. We're not in that. So always we see it like loads of different clubs. It's not just us. When that player hits the 26 to 20 to 30 mark, and they're like, oh, well, I've always dreamed of playing for Barcelona one day or Real Madrid. And then they sort of end up at those teams. So I don't mind. I don't mind it being a stepping stone. Sounds a bit. It kind of downplays us. I don't want it to sound like a stepping stone, but I get it. Like it's a good move for him. It's a good move. It's a good move for him. If we get 6 or 7 years out of him, 5, 6 years out of him, that's brilliant. He's good. His main. We get an absolute top scorer. Like Thierry Henry is another example. When he was at Arsenal, he took a move from a smaller league, went to Arsenal, done bits for maybe about almost 10 years, and sort of Haaland's in that kind of age range, early 20s maybe, and then finishes up at one of those clubs because he's still at the top of his game. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it per se. I just think, if us, we can't almost turn that down at any cost right now, because he is the number one player for me in the world at the moment.
Yeah. So it's not, as you said, it's not like a step. It's just some players want to try different leagues at some point in their career.
Yeah.
So like Hazard, he always made no secret about the fact that one day that he wanted to play for Real Madrid because that was a club of his dreams. So and we let him go with our blessings because he gave us 7-8 good years. So so if the same happens with Haaland, then I'm all for that. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, and just to add to that quickly, sorry, like Real Madrid, it just depends as well what Haaland wants, because for me, Benzema's not finished. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but for me, Benzema, when I watch him, the guy is still absolutely elite. And if Haaland goes into Real Madrid tomorrow, they've got a dilemma. They've got a big problem. Because you're asking this guy, a 20-year-old, to just take over from Karim Benzema, proven. As much as everyone's ranting and raving about Haaland, we've seen false dawns before with some players. So there's always caution to the wind, like Real Madrid might say, okay, this guy looks like he's the real deal, but we're talking about Karim Benzema, one of the most prolific European strikers over the past 10 years plus. So to just walk into Real Madrid and think that he sits down for him and that's how it works, especially at a time where they're going through a transition, you've got to be careful, because they still need to win games. They still need to be that big club like we're speaking about and sell the shirts and have the marquee signings. So they will have a problem, I think. Whereas if he comes to a team like Chelsea, potentially City, he almost is number one straight away. You don't have that problem. Someone spoke about Bayern Munich. Again, you're not going to tell someone like Lewandowski he's still at the top of his game as well. Like, can you go and sit down for one of the best years of your career, the last few years of your career, to let this guy have a little try? I mean, the big clubs don't do that, and I think we're in a good position because we can offer him the money. We can offer him that sort of ability to showcase his skill on a step up from Dortmund, and also we can offer him the career, like the big career at the big team. So, and then we can allow him, like you said, to have that next step, and we won't stand in his way because we're Chelsea. We won't want any player at our club that doesn't want to be there anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
I think it's a win-win across the board.
It is definitely. Yeah, I'd like to bring. Is it Mikhail? Welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, Max, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Yeah.
Gents,
We've just been talking about this.
Hi.
Yeah, we've just been talking about the Haaland situation. And so what's your thoughts on, first of all, would you pay the amount they're talking about? I'm talking about 150 million. Is that something that you think that the club should pay? Do you think he's worth that money?
Yeah, it's a big number, eh? Puts it in a slightly different light suddenly. It does begin to look like a bit of a gamble in the sense of putting that much money behind one signing. But I mean, you almost have to put the money question aside, because the only clubs in the fray right now for Haaland will be clubs that are willing to fork out that kind of money. You can negotiate up, down, sideways, but it's going to be an obnoxious amount of money that ends up landing Haaland, any which way we look at it. So it's almost like you have to put the money aside, and it's just a matter of, these are table stakes now. So it's a matter of actually trying to woo the guy to join us, a project, a club. We don't necessarily have the most glamorous setting in terms of the top European clubs. So you have to figure out what you're selling a player like that on then, and it has to be compelling enough for them to commit potentially the most productive part of what looks like it's going to be a sensational career to your club. So I think, yeah, it's a lot of money, but that's the kind of money that's going to take for somebody like Haaland to say yes, or for Dortmund to let go. Do I trust Marina to get whatever inch we can wrangle out of that, wrangle it down? I'm pretty sure she will try. But to me, the bigger question right now is what does Haaland see in Chelsea? And that's probably what's going to settle this more so than the money, Because if we have a problem with the money, then we shouldn't even be in the conversation. Then it's a non-starter. So I'm going to assume that we're willing to fork out whatever it takes, and at that point, why us over XYZ? And for that, I think there is a project developing here that the owners put a lot of money behind already. And if you'll go a few years back, Roman wasn't going through the best of times. He hasn't had a good 5 years or so, if you financially, personally, with his visa status, personal life, the stadium situation. He lost a lot of money in the whole oil dip. So hasn't been the best of times. And even myself, I had come to a point where I was like, okay, not to disrespect Roman, but if he's had a good run. There's no shame in potentially, if you remember, there was talk of maybe potentially selling Chelsea at one point.
Yes, yeah.
So I was, not to say that I'm dissatisfied with Roman in any way, but at that point I was like, okay, Roman, if you've given $1 billion of your personal funds to this club over the past 12 years, 13 years, there's no shame in passing the baton on to somebody else that's willing to do it all over again. So in my mind, this is when the time when we were we would go into transfer windows and end up signing like the Gibolis and the and the Baba Rahmans, and no disrespect to those guys, but it was a statement of affairs and of things at the club at that point in time, right? So it was kind of like looking like, okay, this could be the beginning of the end now for this era. But he's doubled down. Roman's gone in and doubled down, and what the money that he spent, and even before that, the talk of the stadium being rebuilt, like there was some serious money being thrown into this club. So he's kind of sort of, I guess, come out of whatever his personal challenges were in the past 5 years or so, and he said, you know what, I'm not done here.
Yeah,
but I'm going to give this another go.
Yeah, I think you've answered your own question. The question you said, what does Haaland see in Chelsea? And I think you've answered your own question with what you just said in the last section, where you said what you will see in Chelsea is ambition. I think Cruz talked about it earlier as well, because that's what you're going to see. You're going to see him wanting to put Chelsea back to the top now. Would you have joined Chelsea 2 or 3 seasons ago when you saw the Did your bodies and the Rahmans coming? Probably not. Would you want to play with that level of player? But he's seen him invest in a higher category of players. He's seen him invest in Havertz, who obviously we'll be seeing the best of Havertz in the next couple of seasons, and he's trying to get the very best players. So you're thinking, you know what, I want to be a part of that project because he's building something.
If you look across Europe, I think we are the club that are currently showing the most intent.
Exactly. Yeah. We went out and bought 6 statement signings last week.
Even when you compare us to Man City showed intent, but they showed intent about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they've kept up with it, but I'm just saying that right now the amount of intent Roman has shown in the market to actually making another run towards the very top of Europe, I think we're leading that charge right now, and from that perspective, I think this project can be sold to Haaland. And it's not an easy sell. It's not an easy sell, but I think there is so much to come yet from this group of players. Whereas you look at the Man City group, and it's almost like they're kind of like going over that hill for their squad of players. They've kind of peaked and kind of on the downslope, and it remains to be seen who comes in to kind of refresh, give them maybe a little bit. Like I'm talking like they're not doing well right now. They're on top of the league.
I get your point, yeah. Because if you look, they're kind of in a transition, but they still got some younger players, which helps. But some of the big players, obviously, in the past, we've seen the likes of Vincent Kompany leave. David Silva has now come to the end of his career there. Aguero is coming up to the end of his career. So these are big players who sort of played down the spine for them, and now you're seeing them going. So they're going to have to bring in a new spine.
Yeah, I think they went through a mini rebuild, and I think they'll have to do another rebuild again because a lot of their important players are like 30 years old, maybe older than 30. So they're definitely getting towards the tail end of their peak, shall we say? The team that
Yeah.
produced 98 points and 100 points isn't the exact same team, and they might need to have a few more rebuilds. But Chelsea, like was previously, like we just said, we're on the up. A lot of our players in our first team, they're like 20, 25
That's
years
yeah.
old and under.
Yeah.
So Holland has a huge, like he can look at the potential and be like, what will this team look like in the next 3 years? And another huge thing as well, like what I think Lukaku was saying about intent. I think Roman has intent to make Chelsea a dominant team in Europe again, and not just Chelsea. He has an intent to get Holland in. When Holland sees how much Roman wants him and how interested the owner is in bringing him to the club, that might be a huge factor in bringing him to Chelsea. I don't
Yeah.
think the other teams want him as much as Roman wants him.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point as well, because I did read somewhere that what he's looking at as well is who wants him the most. Yeah, that's another thing what's going to play in his decision.
Yeah.
Who really wants him, and Roman is definitely telling him that, yeah, you know what, I want you more than all the other clubs out there. So yeah, watch this space.
It's almost like, I wouldn't say it's the final piece, but it is a final piece of making that statement, making that statement of intent. Haaland would definitely be the final piece, and then you can tinker here and there with this position and that position to kind of round it off. But if Haaland can be brought, then at that point everything's on the table. Whatever it takes to make that happen, and whatever it takes to adjust to a player like that coming to your club. And I think we have a manager right now that actually kind of sort of thinks like that too, where he's willing to bend the system to suit the strengths of players. So he doesn't necessarily mind playing to one or two or three players' strengths. Actually, he's more than that. Like, you look at so many places all over the pitch. He's playing to everybody's strengths rather than putting them in odd situations. So for Haaland to come in, if he's thinking that, oh, will I get support here? I think it's a emphatic yes, because this manager is showing that he has intent to actually work with all the players and get the best out of all of them.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to bring in Tyrone. He hasn't spoken yet. Before I do, just OMG, Michael, George, Emmanuel, Strip Bear, everyone else that's welcome to the chat. So, Ty, what's your take on this Haaland, the money and everything else?
Well, first of all, I want to say that Mikhail actually said one thing that I actually wanted to say, and it was the fact that Chelsea can want Haaland a lot, and they might really want him, but it all depends on him as well, because you might want a player, but it all, at the end of the day, it's their choice if they want to make that move or not. And he answered the question, as you said. He actually answered his own question, and in the past week, you were hearing that would he actually want to come to Chelsea because we're not creating many chances and this and that. But weeks have passed and there's been an improvement. The money part of it it's really a lot, but it wouldn't be the first time that Chelsea have gone out and make big money signings. But I'm just hoping that, because Chelsea don't really have a good good luck when it comes on to big money signings, really, and there's a lot of examples, but the characteristics that Haaland has, your adoption is going to be there, but he seems different to me in terms of his personality, and I said this in the past as well, that he has that Costa and that that a bit of Drogba's characteristics, but and that's one thing that makes him respectable. But I'm just hoping that if they do that, which I have my doubts on spending that much money, but it's not my money. So if Roman wants to spend that much money, then it's his decision. But it's really interesting.
It is, yeah. And I was waiting for you to come on, Ty, actually, because there's something, all your coincidences and things for Champions League.
Yeah.
I remember we had the most sought after player in the year that we won the Champions League. Who was the most sought after player that everyone wanted?
Ooh.
Easy peasy. That's an easy question.
Mimi Hazard.
Eden Hazard.
Yeah.
And then what did he say? What afterwards? He's joining the
European champions.
He's joining the European champions. So what a statement! We win the We win the Champions League.
And you know what?
And then Haaland says, "I'm joining the European champions."
And I want to add to that as well. I want to add to that because the initials are the same as well. EH.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
Tyrone, I love your trivia, man. You bring so much trivia to the table. Love it.
That's great. Yeah, let's move on now from Hazard, because obviously we've got alternatives. Because they said if we can't get I don't have a Hazard on the mind now. If we can't get Haaland, then the alternatives will be somebody like a Lukaku. I know there's a lot of people putting in the chat, "Oh, it's Haaland or nothing, whatever." But remember, there's a lot of clubs who are after his signature, so we got to be realistic here, and we got to be planning for a plan B. We can't put our eggs all into one basket just in case it doesn't fall and we're left short and we end up with a Morata or someone like that, which we don't want. So we need to be looking at plan B, C, D in case plan A doesn't work out. So Lukaku's been talked about as a plan B. I haven't heard from Cruz for a while. So what's your take on Lukaku as a plan B?
A big, emphatic red X. No, thank you. I'm definitely not part of he's scored these many goals. I understand that, but for me personally, when you're talking about a Chelsea leading striker, you're talking about a player to go into these big tournaments. For me personally, he doesn't have the X factor. He was billed as being, when we signed him from Anderlecht, he was billed as being a sort of Drogba replacement. And when you look at him technically, not just goals wise, because there's certain players who score tons of goals, and we know necessarily that doesn't always amount to being the best technical footballer. And I feel like his biggest issue is his technical ability in terms of holding the ball up. If you think of Drogba in his essence and Costa, they weren't always banging in 30, 40, 50 goals, but they would hold the ball up when it came. They would create space for other people through being a menace. Yes, he has elements of that, but the touches, sometimes you would see it ping off him for years. We watched it at Everton, we watched it at United, even sometimes when you watch him in Serie A, and you spoke about the space that you have in Germany. My gosh, sometimes in Serie A, I see the guy sprinting down the wing and I'm thinking, this guy would never be able to sprint like this in the Premier League with the ball at his feet. So for me personally, he's not the type of profile of player. If we want to go to the next level, we need a technical striker. And with some of his attributes, yes, the physicality, the pace, and things like that, the heading ability, of course. But in terms of the hold-up play, the first touch, the technical intricacies in the run, the smart runs, the pulling people in, bringing your teammates into the game, being that sort of player. Drogba, again, I spoke about Costa. They brought people into the game. They made their teammates look better. Is he a striker that you think he makes his team look better? Not for me. Emphatically, I wouldn't be up for Lukaku at all.
I'm kind of slightly different opinion actually, because I think obviously what we saw at Chelsea and Manchester United, I've seen a more mature Drogba at Inter. Okay, it's a different league, but I think his touch has improved. I know that Antonio Conte has been working on his touch as well. So I'm seeing a more intelligent movement off the board as well. So I think if we did come in, it'll be a different Drogba from the one who left Manchester United a couple of years ago.
I do agree with that, but I'm going to have to agree as well that he may have improved, but I still don't think he's of the level that we need. I don't think he'll take us to the next level. I don't think he would be. If it's between him and Haaland, it's an obvious choice. I don't think
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's between him and Haaland. I'm just saying as an alternative if we can't get Haaland.
I think Baggy had a good take on this morning, where it's not necessarily Lukaku. If the conversation is Lukaku or Haaland, it's a non-starter. It's always Haaland.
Yeah.
But let's move past the Haaland factor choice for now. If let's say we don't get Haaland, okay. So what do you look at in the market then? And Baggy kind of put it in the right light for me as well. I had to actually rethink my opinion as well, because I was kind of still the same as what you guys are echoing, that Lukaku's past it, never had that first touch. Can he really get that much space in the Premier League? But what if we are not spending obnoxious money on him? What if it's a 35, 40, 45, 50 million ballpark kind of spend to get somebody of his physicality in to maybe replace a Giroud?
For me, he would still be a short-term option. He would still be a stopgap kind of option for 2 years.
He would not be the number one. Yes, I give you that. But as a number two or a number three, let's say Tammy walks, let's say Ollie walks. No. Okay, so you're stuck with Werner and who? So between Lukaku and Tammy, I'd probably go with Lukaku right now.
So you would So Tammy leaves and Lukaku comes in, and then who's the number one?
I don't think you have a clear-cut number one in European football right now that's available. Like, you name me a striker that's maybe Calvert-Lewin is up on the up. Maybe he's available. I don't know if he's going to be all that. He's good, but is he really that good? We don't know yet. Maybe Harry Kane. Harry Kane maybe is the only other one that kind of slots in. But Kane would he come to Chelsea? Would we want him?
No. He would come to Chelsea, but would Lee be selling to us? That's the question. And the question is, leave.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely for sure.
Let's put that one off the table for a start.
So who else? Who else? So in that context, Inter is right now going through financial turmoil. They're going to win the league probably, and they're going to disintegrate right after it. So it's because their owners, whoever the Chinese owners are, they're apparently going bankrupt on the back end. So there's turmoil behind the scenes at that club. They need to offload some players. So can Lukaku be gotten right now for a cut price? Probably. We just have to figure out how to make that work if we are in that situation where we need to make a move.
I think just to add to that, I think that's sort of been our problem. If we kind of really look at it, we've over the years signed players who don't match what the ethos is going forward, just to fill gaps. Like Morata was never a Chelsea striker. Certain players that we've signed over the years, it doesn't fit what we're doing going forward. So for us to go and spend maybe, like you said, 30, 40, 50 million in excess of those numbers to go and sign Lukaku, to then for us even to say he's a good number two, maybe that's again another wasted fund. We don't necessarily need a striker. It's either we go gun-ho with a Haaland, and then if not, we look at the second grade of sort of available young strikers, whether that's keep Tammy and let him battle it out with another young striker across Europe. For me personally, I don't know what everyone else feels, but I know he struggled at Real Madrid, but Luka Jovic has been written off. That's my guy. I think if you guys remember a couple of years ago in the Europa League, the guy is an absolutely top striker. Yes, he has some disciplinary issues. Yeah.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but the problem with Luka Jovic now is that he is another case of damaged goods. He's like another Morata. He's like another whoever, like long list of players, Torres, whatever. He's going to be a work in progress.
I don't necessarily agree.
Yeah.
I think Real Madrid bought him at the wrong time. It's kind of like what I said at the beginning of the stream. When you buy a Haaland, are you telling Benzema to sit down? They bought Jovic 2 years ago. He was 21, 22. He was never ready to play first team football. They never bought him to play. They bought him to wait. And because of the type of character he is, he kind of just got into a bit of problems. And he's not a Balotelli. I don't want to go as far as that, but you can even see it with Haaland. Could you see Haaland going to another big team like Real Madrid and just sitting on the bench?
He's not sitting on the bench.
He's not. He's going to cause problems. And they're going to say he's a bad guy. He's trouble. He's not. Some players are just ready to play. And when they're not playing, they get distracted. I think the thing with Jovic.
Yeah, I think the thing with Jovic is the main issue is Madrid literally did what you said. They bought a player that doesn't really fit what Zidane wants to do. You know, Jovic is a second striker. He plays off another striker. Him and what's his name? Allaire. You know, who
Oh,
went
you
to
played
West
off
Ham.
earlier, didn't he? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
yeah.
he's a different profile of striker entirely, and that's why it didn't work. So
Would it work at Chelsea though?
Yeah, because he's
It
kind of similar
wouldn't,
to what
exactly.
a Werner is.
Yeah,
a second
he
striker.
wouldn't
Yeah.
work at Chelsea either.
But would he be able to play off a Werner? Who's
He's nothing-
Werner playing off?
He's
No,
nothing
you
like,
need-
he's
they
nothing
play
like
off big
Timo
men.
Werner. He's nothing like Timo Werner. If you look at their goals and you look at Luka Jovic's goals for Eintracht Frankfurt, if you go on YouTube after this and you watch his goals and watch him defend that Europa League campaign, that's the season I watched him the most, that Bundesliga and Europa League
When
season.
we played against him,
When we
didn't
won it,
twice. And
Yeah,
he
you look at the
looked
header he scored against us. Werner can't score that header. Werner's not a striker like that. This guy scores headers. He's not the biggest guy. He's about 5'7", 5'8". He scores headers. He scores tap-ins. He scores in the box, clinical volleys.
He's a
he
good
can
finish.
cross?
He calls
He's a
all different
gunman.
types of goals as well.
Yeah,
I like
he's
his.
not
He's got a bit of
Werner.
finesse
He's not
with his
Werner.
finishing as well.
I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm at the point where I want a striker coming in that can actually shoot from 40 yards out, 30 yards out, 20 yards out. I don't want tap-ins.
I don't think Jovic can do what you were saying. He can't hold up the ball like you said. He can't bring other people into play. I don't think he's an out and out striker, centre forward like that.
I agree. But we were talking about in terms of who we would go for if we couldn't get Haaland, and then Werner was not Werner, sorry. And I said instead of signing a player like Lukaku, Tuchel, if you notice, Tuchel's been playing false nine. So I think getting a striker who can fit that better than a Timo Werner would be better than going into the Premier League with Havertz or Werner as the main striker. I don't necessarily think those guys are the answer.
So,
in my opinion, I don't think they're the answer.
Which is fair. I'm not disagreeing at all. But are any of these options really perfect fits for that role? I don't think right now there's anybody that we can say is a no-brainer, apart from Haaland. Like we all have to stick our neck out a little bit to whoever it may be coming in next and figure out how they're going to fit in. So then it's almost, then the question becomes valid: is that worth doing, or do we just hang on to Tammy and hope that something clicks eventually?
Yeah, it should be go big or don't go at all. If you want, if you've got 2 or 3 options, don't just get somebody who you're not going to be sure about, because that's not going to work as well. We need someone who's going to be, putting the ball in the back of the net week in, week out. I was listening to what's his name, Simon Phillips. He did an article and he mentioned some alternatives. And Silva, Andre Silva, remember him? He was at AC Milan, the Portuguese guy. He's coming back now. I think he plays in the Spanish league. He had a couple of barren seasons, but he's hitting form, 25, 26, and he's looking quite decent. And the other one, which again would be a bit of a gamble, is Isaac, the Swedish guy, 6'4", striker. They're saying he's the next Ibrahimovic, but again, he's only 21. So.
Italian club.
What's that, Chelsea stand? You saying something?
Oh, what's up, everyone? What's it called? Adrian Silva plays for some Italian club.
Yeah, sorry, he's played for Italian club.
He was on loan to AC Milan, and
that's right. Yeah. And then, sorry, I'm mixing up. Isaac, he plays in the Spanish league, and he's sort of 21, 22. He's a Swedish guy.
Real Sociedad.
Yeah.
I'm just looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Like I follow the guy, but Real Sociedad. So
and they were talking about him as the next Ibrahimovic as well. Yeah. We were linked with him actually when he was about 18, but yeah.
What can I see?
1.9 meters. 1.9 meters. So he's another tall guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah,
and he's got the same sort of attitude, they say, as Ibrahimovic. But do we invest in a young striker like him?
Nah.
So
but then again, we say a young striker.
Tammy was supposed to be that guy, right?
Go all out with Haaland, and
Tammy's supposed to be that guy that we need, the tall, physical up front.
He is getting those goals because he's under Conte, but I don't think it'll work out for us if we sign him. I think we are lacking goals right now. We should just go all out in the summer for Haaland. That's what I want. Haaland is a wish player, but it will be very hard for us to sign. We'll have to pay, I don't know, probably near to the 200 million because Man City, United would need a striker as well. Man City need a striker, so
Yeah,
we're
it's
gonna
almost
have
a case.
to
It's
think
almost a
big.
case of keeping him away from our competitors as well. If we can land a Haaland, then we keep Haaland from joining a Man United or a Man City or a Liverpool
And
or
we're
whoever
lacking
else.
goals right now. We're lacking goals. So we are winning games, but we're lacking goals from somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know why these attackers they don't seem to get it through their heads. Like, did you see the other day? Tuchel said to Werner that what's called. Why are you not like getting into those positions, those wide areas? And he's not doing that his job. He's not doing his job properly. What even if the advice that Tuchel has given. So if Haaland comes
What's his
in,
job?
we
What's
sign
his
Haaland. His
What's
job.
Werner's job? Yeah.
He's a winger.
No,
And
who's a winger?
Haaland. The thing was
he's
called Werner.
he's
Werner,
a high,
not
he's a
No,
high,
when
he's
he
a
plays
second.
as a
He's a
3-4-2-1.
striker. He's not a winger.
He's a
he's
striker. I know
high,
he's a
yeah,
striker,
yeah.
but he's mainly like if he plays as a winger, like if we play 3-4-2-1, yeah. If he
Yeah.
plays on the left and Haaland up front, then he can get into those positions, and
I think I agree
I
with
think he could get the goals from there.
I think I agree. He is a winger and he's also a striker. He's like
He's
a
a striker.
hybrid.
He's in between, isn't he? He's a half.
Yeah,
half
yeah.
right.
He's
can't
he's
really
a
say.
half. He's a 8+1.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So I'm just looking at some of these
If we
things.
go for Lukaku, it's not going to really make sense. Really, I don't think he's fit for Tuchel's
The worst thing is his age. He's too
management
old.
and like
He's too old.
team. He's not fit for the
He's
team.
not too old. He's 28.
Not too old. He's 20.
You need
That's-
And
someone.
if we sign Haaland, we get him for longer. We get him
You
for
buy
like,
him, yeah,
like,
but
I saw some
yeah.
person,
Lukaku,
someone commented saying that we could get him for 8 years, and I'm right. I'm saying that's right. 8 years. I can't remember who said it. I think it was Strip Bear or someone.
Yeah.
And they said we
But-
can get him for 8 years, and that's why I would want Haaland because he's young. He gets those goals. He gets probably 3 or 4 goals every season, every game. Sorry, I'm saying some random stuff now.
Yeah, but
in
please
every
stand.
game.
Please stand. Yeah, the thing is,
Yeah.
we're not saying everyone's in agreement with you. If we can get him, then everyone's saying it's a no-brainer. So we're not saying that it's either out of him or Lukaku. Which one do we go for? Because we know. But what we're saying is, if for some reason we can't get Haaland, then we're looking at alternatives. Who's an alternative? And we're saying is Lukaku a good alternative if we can't get? Yeah, and I do like what McCart was saying as well. The reason why I do want Haaland is because I'm crying out for that guy who can score those 30 yards. Yeah, he's the Chelsea thing. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
someone who can smash the ball in from 30 yards, and this boy knows how to hit the ball. So
we haven't had that ever.
not only that, he knows how to. He's great in and around the box as well. He knows he's got great movement. He knows how to get on the end of things. He's brilliant in the air as well. So he's a fantastic all-round striker. So we're not debating that. So he's definitely everyone's number one. Mm.
And can I say something else? If Tuchel gets top 4, yeah, Roman has already promised that he will get Haaland. Do you think that's true?
Where did you see that?
What's that say? I didn't hear that one.
If Tuchel gets top 4, then what's called Roman promised that he will get Haaland. So do you think that's
true? You can't promise anything. He'll try for but you can't promise him something.
There was a news article that said that was false news.
It's fake news. I don't think it's not true.
This guy's got to get top 4 first to keep his job, to be fair. You never know. Everyone's kind of looking past the fact.
But we're unbeaten right now.
No, I'm being facetious.
But that can always change, man.
Yeah, I'm being a bit facetious, but I'm saying he's still kind of in the zone of he still might not keep his job, obviously, because he's on the short-term deal. So I don't think he'll be promising him any players yet, is what I'm saying. I think his job is to sort of sort out the squad, get us back into contention for that top 4, and if we can get it, then he'll sort of get a new contract. Then he can start looking at who he wants to bring in.
Yeah.
But I love the way he's made our squad a sellable squad again. I think if you look at the fight, if we're talking about finances, we've got a lot more sellable assets than, sorry to say, when Frank was last in, because if you looked at Alonso's value's probably gone up maybe 5 million to 5+ million. You look at someone like Rudiger gone from like a 25 million pound centre back to maybe a 40 million pound centre back. So you look at some of the other players as well. Even Emerson coming on and scoring in the Champions League.
He's wanted by 2 Italian clubs, Juventus and Inter.
So that's one thing I've been super impressed with, his ability to get our fringe players in the mix. Even Kepa's played a few games and he's upped the profile of the weaker players in the squad to make them sellable. And I think that's going to only benefit us in the transfer market as well.
Yeah, I think Tuchel is huge. He's a very important. How do I say this? He's very important to Chelsea right now. I think we need to keep this guy for as long as we can. He has. I mean, the way he's improved these players. I mean, the coaching is very, very impressive. He's made them look better than they are. So we need to keep him for as long as we can.
And I think even if we don't make top 4, but because we've shown a lot of progress, I don't think Roman will sack him if we don't make top 4. I think he'll still keep him.
That'd be harsh.
Yeah, he's done too
That'd
well.
be harsh.
Yeah, he should definitely stay, no matter what. To be fair.
Yeah.
So he has to do. If he doesn't get top 4, then that probably might be the 2012 moment then.
When we,
oh,
I know where you're going. Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, you have to rely on that. Has to rely on that
as well. I'll take that as well. Yeah.
I'll say something about Kante now. He's 29 now, and is there something wrong about Kante?
No. He's injured. I heard. So that just brought up the fact that because he was getting back to the Kante that we knew, and then he just
you're gonna have to get through it now because Kante. I still keep Kante even though I said that, but I already knew he's getting older and older. He's getting into his 30s now. The injuries are gonna come very quickly. So he needs to. Tuchel needs to manage his game time as well. And France, he played a full 90 minutes. I swear that's annoyed me big time. Why didn't he take him off?
So he woke up.
We need him fit for the Champions League.
Yeah,
we can't. I know it's not going to be it's a short knee injury. I think it is, or whatever it is. Yeah, but
isn't Jorginho injured as well?
I just want him fit. I don't want him to get injured.
Yeah, I think Jorginho is out as well.
He's the only one that I don't want.
I watched, you know the match. I watched the match and I was like, yeah, this is fine. Kante is just walking most of the time. This shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he gets a hamstring issue. I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on here? I mean, he looked fine on the pitch. He was just.
Oh gosh.
That's the really problem with when we play in these.
Has anyone seen the green?
This is why I hate international break. This is why I hate international break.
Has anyone seen the Greenhouse video yet?
No. Why are you jumping?
I'm not worried about Kante's injuries. Kante is a dream, superhuman.
No, but we have to manage. We have to manage him. Yeah. So Strip Beers, and I want. That's different from others. Want Rice to work on the Kante. Yeah, Rice may come along. Rice may.
Yeah, it depends. I don't have a problem with Rice potentially playing at Chelsea again, or for the first time, for the first team. But my problem has always been with Rice's price tag.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for the kind of money that they're asking at all.
Yeah, he's probably worth 40, 50 million. He's probably worth the deal.
40 tops for me, nothing beyond that, and they're not going to sell him for that.
Similar to what with what's his name, the Chilwell. When I said 80 million, no way. But for 40 maybe, and even then it's looking a bit overpriced as well at the moment.
Is that for Rice to play in our midfield, or is that for Rice to play at centre back?
Probably not
midfield.
For us to go in for Rice, I'm going to be honest with you, at any price would be just absolutely absurd.
To be honest, To be honest, Rice isn't coming to Chelsea. We already
Yeah.
know.
He
I
is.
understand the arguments for bringing him to Chelsea, but I just kind of can't wrap my head around that price tag. Absolutely
The
not.
club doesn't even want him. They
Yeah.
they let him go and
Yeah.
they don't want him.
Yeah,
No,
embarrassment reasons.
it's changed now. I've heard the reports that I was reading yesterday, I believe, is that they're looking
Oh.
at him again. They are looking at him again. He's one of the options for central midfield.
Oh, brother.
Wow. Wow. I don't know.
I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
obviously,
believe,
yeah.
I
yeah,
believe, I
Yeah.
believe they want
Yeah.
him, but I just can't see what they see in him opposed to
I don't
a
see it. I
cultured
don't
player
see it.
like Billy Gilmore. I don't even think he's a better footballer than Ethan Ampadu. He just looks he looks like a
Ooh.
West Ham United player. If I'm being honest, he's at his level. I think.
I think that's a fair statement. Yes.
But
Yeah,
one
and
thing
you
he
know
does.
that's an interesting thing too. That's very interesting that you brought up Billy Gilmore because if he didn't get that injury in that Palace game, who knows? Probably Jorginho probably wouldn't have been playing now. Bill Gilmore probably would have had more consistent games. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
I
But one
don't
thing I
think
like about Rice, though, obviously, what he will give us, though, is that sort of leadership or that voice on the pitch that we lack, because we've got a very quiet
Yeah.
team, haven't we?
I think that's respectfully. I think that's overrated. If that's the reason we're getting Rice, I'm sorry. No. If that's something we get, just thrown in because we got a good player, great. But I don't want to go out and get somebody just because they're vocal on the pitch. Come on, we need somebody that can play with the ball. And I'm not saying Rice can't. I just don't think he's 80 million worth of that.
Yeah, I think he's decent. I think the guys are giving him a bit more. He's good on the ball as well. But
Yeah.
would I take him? Probably not. There are alternatives out there which we can get for cheaper. Chemeni, for instance, and Camavinga in the French league.
Yeah, which is where I think we should.
Kessie, Camavinga, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they offer us much more for less money.
Yeah,
I don't think him being vocal is something that we should turn our nose up at. I think it's an important leadership trait. I think it's good.
It is, yeah. Because if you look at somebody like Henderson, it is so. Tyrone, it is. If you look at Henderson at Liverpool, would you say that he's the best footballer?
How much did they pay for Henderson, Max?
Oh, come on.
10 million?
20 million or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's what we're paying for to get Rice, sign me up.
Don't get me wrong. I said I won't be paying 80 million for him. Yeah. If it's 80 million,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Burton. Actually,
40 million, you probably take 80 million. You walk away from that deal. Yeah, it's because that's what I was the same with all the videos I made on Chilwell. I said, not for 80 million. He's a no-no. You're not getting that.
The problem is.
Did we keep the receipt with Chilwell?
Yeah, Leicester City has not been a reliable place to get players.
If West Ham, sorry,
we should have paid him our next card.
No, so had we gone for Justin and for 10 million and could get left with Chilwell, would have had a better deal, I think. Carry on.
I was just going to say, just pipe up. If West Ham were on the other side of the table and in a battle for relegation, or one of those kind of seasons, then yes, we could probably twist their arm and get Rice on the cheap. But right now they're competing for Europe. They're not going to sell him for cheap at all. So I would say that just like we've accepted that Kane's not going to happen, probably Rice is not going to happen unless we're willing to pay 80 million or 70 million or 60 million, something obnoxious and overpriced, which frankly I don't want to see happen. I'm sure there's players out there in Europe that we can get that can be as good or nearly as good or better. The one thing I was going to say about Gilmore is while Gilmore is a fantastic player and has awesome potential, I just feel like he will never be somebody we can rely on in that position because it's such a tricky position to play. I don't think he has the pace to do what Kante does. And he doesn't have the physicality to do what maybe Kova does, or I don't know, maybe a Rice would do. So he's always going to be that player that we'll always have to pair up with somebody that can do the rest. And while there's nothing wrong with that, like we had to play Matic next to Fabregas, and that worked fantastic. But I just don't know if we have that kind of a pairing right now ready where Gilmore can be a regular either. He'll always be, one coming off the bench as maybe somebody's injured and then Gilmore plays. I just don't see him starting games just yet. I know he's bulking up, and that's good to see. But is he ever going to be a physical player? I don't think that's his profile. And is he really a fast player? Can he sprint all over the field like Kante does? I don't think so either. So
he's got time on his side, though. I think he's, if we get into he's 18 at the moment, so I think he's.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying he's not good. He's good, but he's limited in what he can give. And is that really the role that we can afford to play him in then?
Yeah, you know what? I think he should have done a loan move. I don't know why we kept him actually. So had he gone out on loan, we could have assessed him a bit better.
No, I agree. I agree a bit. To be fair, with that the assessment of Gilmore, because I think you're right in terms of the way we play. But I think if we want to go to the next level, like if you look at some of our comparable teams across Europe, like if you look at Luka Modric per se, like he's not the biggest build, but he manages to get around and he can play technically. And I think when I look at Gilmore, he's got elements of that. He's a really good ball playing midfielder. So if we keep possession, just to quickly say, if we keep possession and we're a possession-based team, I think he'll be all right. If we're a dominating big,
fair point,
possession-based team. The problem why Kante, and not a problem per se, but the reason why Kante's looked so good for us is because the last 3 or 4 years we've been not a counter-attacking team, but we've been a team to not necessarily dominate games. And he's someone that can get the ball back for us, and Cover can do the other side and kind of push us forward. And even sometimes Kante can do those bursting runs. He reminds me of Ramirez. He runs with Ramirez sometimes when he starts going. And I think that's what Kante adds to our team in terms of the physicality and tackling. But going forward, that's one of my problems with Kante is he the player in front of the back four that can, when you're dominating leagues like a Bayern or like a Real or a Barcelona, it's not necessarily about the profile, whether you're stature, whether you're 6'7" like a Busquets, or whether you're 5'2" like a Mascherano. It doesn't necessarily matter when you're dominating the ball, because or Joshua Kimmich. Look at some of the smaller players around Europe in those positions. I just think when you're possession based, you kind of dictate how the game goes. And because you've got 70% of the ball most games, you don't need a Kante just bombing around, and you need the technical players to start you off from the back. And I think that's what Billy does for us. Billy,
if he can emulate Modric and he can become press resistant like Modric is, which I think to some extent he is, but maybe not as developed as yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think he has the distribution to rival somebody like a Modric.
Yeah, a bit like Fabregas used to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that would be the path for Gilmore to try to nail down a starting position. Then,
if he can be like maybe Jorginho or Kovacic, Jorginho is press resistant with his quick passing and quick thinking, and Kovacic is press resistant with his dribbling, right? So if he can be press resistant in one of those ways, I think it would elevate him a lot. I think Tuchel spoke in one of the press conferences about Gilmore's physicality and his size. I think he's worried that Gilmore might be too small, but honestly, from what I've seen, he's fine. I think his physicality is fine. He's definitely more physical than Jorginho. So
100%, yeah.
That's not an issue. I don't think it's a problem. So yeah, he just needs to improve well, he's fine technically, but he just needs to improve his press resistance and his in-game sort of understanding. And
I think Max said it as well. He should have went out on loan. I think Max said it just now. He should have went on loan, because I would love to see him have a run of games, even like Conor Gallagher at West Brom. I would have loved to see him in a side where he could just sort of be that player in midfield, because he loves a challenge. He doesn't mind getting stuck in, even if it was a championship move or abroad, just to see what he get him 10, 15 games of men's football to see how he reacts physically and with tackles and how he comes out of it, because he is a good technical player.
The injury might have affected his loan move. He had knee surgery on his after the Leicester match last season, and then he was injured for a while. So
I think they kind of threw a spanner in the works, but he's looking decent now that he's coming back. But we have to manage him too. I think we don't want him getting injured again. So bring him back slowly, and maybe
I think a loan season next year, and then we'll see how he gets on, and the season after hopefully come back.
Actually, a loan move abroad sounds like that would be fantastic for if in a Italian league or a Spanish league or even Germany.
Yeah.
That would.
Yeah, I just want to address this question by Melvin, who put in there, and was going back to the strikers. Dominic Calvert-Lewin as an alternative if we can't get Haaland. What are you guys' thoughts on him?
I like that guy. I think he's the kind of striker Chelsea's always tried to have up front, right? Tall, kind of physical, can finish, can get stuck in, can head the ball. Like I like his profile as a player.
Technically very good as well. His hold-up play, I think, is excellent. Got pace.
I think if Chelsea signed him, Tammy Abraham, what would you be thinking in the back of your mind? You would be thinking,
Yeah, he's probably
Tammy will
gone.
go.
He's gone.
Tammy will go.
He's
If we sign
gone
Haaland,
anyway.
Tammy's gone anyway.
yeah,
He's gone anyway. So that
Speaking
makes
of
sense.
players that need a loan, I think Tammy needs a loan. I'm not anti-Tammy. I just don't think he's there yet.
Wow.
So if we need to send him away for him to
You
discover
think
himself.
you think Tammy
Be
needs a
careful with
loan?
Eric. Eric is
No,
an advocate of
No,
Tammy.
no,
So you have to be
no.
careful.
Just him.
Be careful.
Just hear me out. Just hear me out. No. It's not like that. You said you think Tammy needs a loan. That means you're basically saying Tammy isn't good enough for Chelsea. That's what because he's had a lot of loans.
I don't think he's the complete deal right now. There's
Okay,
missing
cool.
the pieces to his game, and
That's
I don't
fine,
think that sitting on the bench at Chelsea necessarily is the fastest way to fix that issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
good
don't
point.
necessarily.
Tammy's a decent player, but for me, I'm with McCall here. He's not the finished starter for Chelsea. We can't afford to have someone leading the line who is still a work in progress, and that's what he is at the moment for me. He's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But we do have that contract situation as well with him.
Yeah, he's got some good aspects in this game, but I've always said, had we had somebody else in that position, with the positions that he gets into, then we're scoring a lot more goals. You know,
but I think that's the same with Timo Werner. I think that's one thing I will advocate for Tammy a little bit. I'm with you too as well. I think he's potentially not the finished article and stuff, but I don't know, this whole like give Werner time, give these guys time. Some of these chances, I don't know. I don't see them ever getting it right. To be honest,
I'd give Werner next season. If at the end of next season we're still having the same conversations about Werner, then yes, we can start having that conversation. For now, yes, he's not playing well as we want him to. Yes, he's not playing 32 goals in a season well, but he is contributing to our not just the game, but actually we kind of set up to actually play around him in the way he runs, the way he runs in behind. Like we have oppositions running towards their own goal because of this guy.
Yeah,
and I don't think.
And that's the interesting thing too, as well, because what I realize and what I think Thomas Tuchel has done when it comes on to Werner is the Bundesliga, a lot of high line, and I think that Tuchel realizes that he struggles when it comes on to low block teams. So he, in a way, he's trying to help where he can try to get Werner the space that he needs, and that's something that he's been getting. He's just not scoring, and that's the frustrating thing. But to say that, to give him time seems a bit like, I don't know, in terms of that. I think that's kind of harsh on him, because I personally think that every player deserves at least 2 seasons, their debut season and their other season. If they don't do well, then that's that. But
are you including players from the academy?
Yes. And I know where you're going with this too. And yes, Tammy, with Tammy Abraham, I know what you mean.
Yeah, because that was exactly my point.
Because his second
season.
I think the progression for Tammy has been in reverse. When he came into the club, he played the best football. When he was in the championship, he played his best football. Yeah. And it's been downhill since 2020, I guess, right? The beginning of 2020 is when he just couldn't score. I think his 15 goals top scoring season, I think he scored 12 of them in the first half. And then it was just 3 goals in all of the last half of the season.
I just want to briefly explain myself with my thinking with Tammy, just to briefly explain what I'm trying to say. I understand what everybody's saying. I agree. He isn't good enough to start for Chelsea week in, week out. But I think Max said if Haaland is coming, Tammy is going anyway. I don't think that's true, because I think Giroud's leaving no matter what at the end of the season. So that means if Tammy leaves as well, we just have Haaland and Werner, which I don't think is anywhere near good enough. So I think what I think is Tammy isn't good enough to start week in, week out. So if we get Haaland, Haaland will be the guy who starts week in, week out, and Tammy can be the squad player. That's my thinking, but I don't know.
I've
No, but
never
I'm
had an
thinking.
issue with Tammy being the squad player.
No,
The
no,
problem's
no.
always
But,
been that there's a contract that he's refusing to sign, meaning
exactly.
he wants to be the starter.
That's the major factor as well. And there's another reason why, and I did say this previously on one of these phone-ins. I did say that if you look at it, he's the only player. The academy players came in last season. Mason Mount signed a extension, especially with Kai Havertz coming in, and we know his personality is where he wants to fight. He said that he's going to be the next academy player to come in, be the next John Terry to break through. But Tammy Abraham was the only academy graduate who did not sign an extension, which to me seems like he's intimidated. He thinks that if they do sign players, that means that he's gonna have to fight, or if he's not, he's gonna push him back to being that starter for Chelsea. And if you think about it as well, if you think about it, imagine he's 21, 22, probably older than that. Imagine thinking about it. Someone younger than you is coming in, and they're going to take your position.
I don't think age factors in. It's your confidence in your ability and your contribution to the team. I think that just looking at the way this story has progressed, he has another offer, and he's constantly trying to get Chelsea to match or beat that offer because there's something in his mind, and he's not getting it at Chelsea, and as a result, he's holding out.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you have to remember, I think the reason why he hasn't signed is because he's not like the other boys. The other boys have had one loan. Callum's had no loans. Fikayo had one at Derby. Who else was coming? Reese has had one at Wigan. Tammy's had about 5 or 6 loans. He's gone to Bristol. He's gone to Villa and scored. He went to Swansea when they were in the Premier League.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
He went to Swansea when they were in the Premier League and got relegated. So the guy, to be fair to him, last season, he's paid his dues. He has paid his dues. He's gone on loan. He can't sign a new deal at 21, 22, 23 and then be the loan army for the next 3-4 years because no one will touch him for 60 million. And then his career is shot to bits. But he's probably, out of all of them, got the most confidence. He's probably got the most stiff upper lip to say, you know what, I know I can score goals because I've done it now. I'm not going to sit on the bench for you guys, even though you've got me through the system and you're my parent club. But I'm not going to sit here for the next 3-4 years while no club will touch me because my price tag will probably be 50 million and I'm not even playing week in, week out. So I think there's a bit more to Tammy than the other guys. If you look at it from that sort of angle, he's probably the best place to say, I'm not going to sign it. He's probably the best place to say, I'm not going to sign it.
That's a good point, and that's one thing, and that's interesting because some people say that that's how the academy is at times, and people might bring up the fact that transfer ban probably wouldn't see so much academy players, and I get the point that you're making because he has had so many loans, and for some players they get a lot of loan and they don't even get minutes at the team. They some are bought in, they're loaned out, and then eventually they get sold. So this is one thing that I think he doesn't get credited for as well. Despite the amount of chances that he has missed and chances where he should have finished, you have to commend him. Werner isn't scoring. Giroud, he's a scorer of good goals or great goals. But you have to commend him where the aren't stepping up, and he's scoring when he gets the chance, even though most of them are tap-ins. But he's improved. He not improving in a sense, but he is contributing when he can, despite the chances that he's missing. So you have to commend him on stepping up when the other strikers are not really scoring. But he's not showing any signs of an improvement from last season. To be fair.
Ian in the chats brings up a good point. What about Angerin? How do you guys rate him?
Ooh.
Angerin,
did he score today?
Angerin's good, but he needs again. I think he needs a loan move. He's too good to be just sitting there, and he's too good for the development team at the moment, the youth team. So I think it'll be good if he gets a loan move at the moment. I can't see him breaking through at this point in time. But yeah, 1 season loan and then bring him back.
Yeah, I think Angerin. Hopefully, he might be the next Loftus-Cheek, because I think most people what I've heard of, I think people have already written him off. So a lot of people are not expecting Loftus-Cheek to have a future at Chelsea, which is very sad. But
yeah, that is. I think injuries have had the best of Loftus-Cheek, although he's looking good at Fulham at the moment.
How old is Loftus-Cheek now?
I think he's only
25?
about 25, so he's
25,
still.
yeah. I think he's 25.
so he's not young anymore. He needs to start.
That's still youngish. Well, obviously not young, but yeah,
Is he young enough to have a future at Chelsea? I'm not sure. At this age,
He can have a future. We just have such a log jam of young players right now. So it's a hard conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think.
Can we give him another 2 seasons to settle in? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. And who would he go in ahead of? Would he be ahead of Mason Mount or Kovacic?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't get too much game time, right? So it wouldn't help his form either. And that's a pity, but it's also a good position for the club to be in, where we have so many good players right now that we can afford to maybe pass on bringing him back necessarily, or forcing him to come back. If he wants to come back and just take a fight for a place, by all means.
Hopefully he can make the most of his career.
Strip Bear's talking about our defence now, so we're covering all different areas of the pitch.
I think it's a 2-year loan, though.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about the loan of Malang Sarr. I think that's it. Yeah.
Who probably might score against us. Awesome.
It'll be interesting to see him play, actually, because he's going to be playing against us in the.
Yeah, so that's really good to see.
I haven't even watched one. I haven't watched one match he's played in. I have no idea.
I saw him against Man City, and he looked quite impressive in that game. Yeah.
Is he playing as a left back or just as a centre back?
He's playing as a centre back. Sometimes they play free, and sometimes So he's playing as he's played left back sometimes, but he's remained in position centre back.
Yeah. Can I mention someone else? Another centre half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was listening to links with Kunde, and I'm not sure about him. I think he's too short. He's too small. I may be completely wrong, but I'm not. I'm a bit concerned about that signing.
He's great on the ball, but the reason why we didn't do the buyback on Nathan Ake was because of his size to play as a centre back, and I think he's the same size as Ake. So probably in the Premier League, you need more physically imposing centre backs. I don't think he will play in our. I don't think we'll take that option up. But great on the ball. But Man City were close to buying him, weren't they?
He fits Man United perfectly. He fits Man United perfectly because they always have the short defenders who are not good aerially. It just always happens.
Man City bought Ake, and how much game time has he had since then?
He was being injured.
Well, he's injured, so that would be kind of unfair.
Yeah.
But he also didn't play a lot before he got injured.
And they were playing him left back.
Yeah.
But we can't afford another short player because we got a short team as it is, so we can't afford a short centre back. We need some aerial presence in our team at the moment. That's what we're badly lacking.
It's really I like how we are switching the topics, and now we're on to centre halves, and it's really disappointing, and I hate to bring this up, but I really was hoping that Tomori was not gone for good, but it's over with now.
That is a weird one, the Tomori one. That's a very strange one. It's because
the story behind it just seems unclear, and I don't want to see him like I'm assuming things, but the day when it was announced that he was on loan to AC Milan, there was a conversation between him and Tammy Abraham on Instagram on their stories, and Tammy Abraham said, you know what, you know the reason. He said something like that, and
That was weird.
Tomori,
That was
yeah,
weird.
and Tomori said, yeah, dude, and it was so crazy. I was like, okay, did something happen? Why he had to go on loan? Did something happen between him and Lampard? It's
I
just so
think there was
many
a
things.
fallout between him and Frank.
Yeah,
Myself.
because apparently he wasn't spoken to like a lot of players. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Just going on to, I just want to address this by Strip there about the loan move. Apparently, this was a couple of years ago. They're talking about restricting it, but if it's someone from your academy, it's still you can have as many players in your academy to go on loan. I think it's just players that you buy because again it's I think what's his name was in there earlier. What's his name again? He was there earlier. He's disappeared now.
Can't remember.
My brain's gone. Yeah, the person was there earlier. Sorry for forgetting your name. Yeah, but what he's saying about financial, everything's done to try and discredit against Chelsea when he was mentioning the financial fair play rules and things. And this is another one because Chelsea had a system where they used to buy players and loan them out because you get money for loaning out players, don't you? You get a loan fee. And so because Chelsea were sort of exploiting that, they changed the ruling so you can only have, I think it's 10 players, I think it is. But it is if you bought players. So, for instance, if we bought a Babayaro, then we loaned him out or something like that. Then we can't stockpile players just to loan them out. But they said if it's a young player, someone like a Billy Gilmore, and we loan them out, then we can. It's limitless. So you can say 20 players from your youth setup can be loaned out. But if it's someone you bought, I think it's limited to X amount of players. I can't remember the numbers. I'll try and get what the ruling is, but that's the new ruling. I think it's coming to play this next season, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just to clear that one up. Mbayamba is still out on injury. He's still injured. He's going through his recovery at the moment. So he's another one we've got waiting in the wings. He's highly thought of as well. 6'5" as well. Big presence.
It's crazy, man.
Good ball player. He's been linked for young. He's obviously. I don't like labeling players, but he's been labelled as a young Van Dijk as well. So if he can reach, I know. As I said, I don't like.
He's from the Netherlands.
He's from the Netherlands.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then that
stereotype.
Makes sense.
Another stereotype.
Yeah. I suppose because he's got this physical. It's the same. It's the same physique. He's good on the ball, comfortable on the ball. Great pace. So he's another one. He's come with a high reputation. So we have to see.
Well, he's from Barcelona.
Yeah, he was. Chelsea actually wanted. He wanted to come to Chelsea actually before he went to Barcelona. The story behind it was that he was due to come to Chelsea. Then we got the ban, so he couldn't join us. And then he went to Barcelona. Barcelona promised him things, and they broke their promises. So he broke the contract, and Chelsea said they had I think it's a 2 or 3 year progression path for him to be on to get into the first team. So we won't probably expect him to be in the first team until probably 3 years' time, maybe if everything goes to plan. The injury has knocked it back a bit, so I'm not sure. Hopefully, he's recovered from the injury. So maybe we're looking at another 3 seasons before he's in contention for first team football. Yeah. So, guys, I'm going to call it a day now. I think we've been on for 1.5 hours, and the clocks go forward in the UK. So I'm going to be missing out on an hour's sleep. So I want to do some things before the clocks go forward. Tyrone, you don't have that problem where you are. So
cool. That's bad for you then.
Yeah. Anyway, so thanks guys for talking. Thanks for all the contributions in the chat. Quite a lot of contributions. Strip there, Ian, people like that. Andrew, lots of good comments in the chat. It's always nice to hear from you guys. So so we'll have to wait and see. Play the waiting game. So I'm hoping that everyone's hope is that we can put in a good enough, big enough package for Erling Haaland, something that he will be able to accept, and he'll be in a blue shirt next season. Because I think if we have someone like Erling Haaland in our side next season, then I think we're going to be competing for all
not
the
major. Not sky blue.
Not
Make
sky
that
blue.
clear.
We need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. The right kind of
And
blue, the best blue.
and as Tyrone, as he said before, I want him to be tweeting, I'm joining the Champions of Europe.
Honestly,
You know
if we
Max,
no, we can't do that.
Max,
Oh.
come on.
If we,
Oh no! Oh no! You
imagine
could
if
take care of your
no
big
no no
Bayern
no.
Munich
Come
or
on,
Man
Max.
Imagine
City.
if we
Go easy
actually,
on us.
honestly, if we win a certain trophy with the big ears, I don't think I would care about whoever we're signing. I'll be so excited.
Exactly.
Like whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna be interesting.
Listen,
Yeah.
let's come to that after the final and see if that still makes sense. But
Yeah,
as long as we make a good deep run and we are seen to be a fighting team, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think we can do that much. I think we can do that much at the very least. That can be an expectation.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I have a lot of omens that I'm gonna probably, I have too many omens to not make a
Do
video
a video.
about.
You have to do a
Yeah, I'm
video.
gonna make a video about it. I have too
Maybe
many omens.
I feel like these omens could. Okay, maybe if we get to the final, then someone can just bring out all the omens and like.
Yeah,
to
but
try and help us
they're
in the
normally
final.
so accurate though. Like the referee for
I don't like these
for the
things
round of 16, man. The round of 16,
because
the same
because
referee from Napoli.
we have these omens and then we get to the match and then something crazy happens and everybody's sad. I don't want these kind of scenarios. Let's just relax, get past the next round, and then maybe we can start talking about these.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but people are gonna always be crazy and just put it out there that they're gonna win. We're gonna win the Champions League, this and that. But I'm more reserved in a way.
Yes.
I'm saying that we can. It's a possibility, but you have to do the work. You can't say something and not do the work. So
Anyone can. I think the draw is favourable for us. So let's wait and see. Yeah. And Strip Bear, actually, Haaland was born in Leeds. When his dad used to play there.
Yeah.
So although he may enjoy London,
oh my god,
how old was he when he left? I'm not sure. It was 2 or 3.
Oh,
So he's got that.
funny.
He's got that northern blood in him. So hopefully he doesn't like North. Hopefully
that'd be so funny if he joins Leeds.
I would be so angry if that. Imagine that. No. Imagine if that. No way.
I'd give up football if that was the case. And for all those who haven't watched the video, I did a top 10 of Chelsea strikers. Try and give that a watch as well.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah. And the next one I'm going to do the top 10 flops in Chelsea's history.
Oh,
strikers, number 9s.
Oh, I was going to do a tier list on that. To be fair.
Yeah. So
Shevchenko.
So that. Yeah, he's going to be on that. I won't give it too much away. He's going to be on that list. There's going to be a few people on that list. So, and it's more up-to-date current players from some players you may not know, but most of the players you'll probably know. So, yeah. All right, then, guys. Have a good evening, or is it afternoon, wherever you are. Just enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll be back next week. Stay in tune for a couple more videos and just let's get rid of this boring international break, shall we? And let's get back to the real stuff.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for having us on, Max.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for being on.
Take care, gentlemen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.